There's a hidden gem in the Nissan product line. No, I'm not talking about the Nissan Z. I'm not talking about the Frontier or even the Altima. I'm talking about the 2025 Nissan Rogue SL. That is right. A couple of months ago, we checked out the SV, and I said the SL was the better option, even though you were spending a little extra. You're receiving creature comforts, amenities, and more importantly, technology that makes this crossover very competitive in this market. Finally, we're checking out the SL. We're going to see what this vehicle really has to offer at around $40,000 and see why, if you are looking at buying a Nissan Rogue this year, maybe taking a look at the SL might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Nissan of Merrimack Valley here in Chelmsford, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Nissan Rogue once again. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Nissan inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2025 Nissan Rogue SL we have today, this model does come equipped with all-wheel drive, giving us a starting cost of just under $36,500. Now, this is not factoring in destination fees, and this is not factoring in the $1,000 discount that's still valid right now from Nissan with the tariff situation looming overhead for the foreseeable future for the Nissan product line. So if you are looking at buying a crossover right now, take advantage of the Nissan Rogue with that $1,000 discount. Now, there are a few differences here for the SL compared to the SV, obviously for the interior, but aesthetically speaking, there's also some upgrades here that makes the Rogue look a bit more upscale and classy. The first thing you're going to notice is the 19-inch alloy wheels. We'll talk about this in a minute. I think it makes the Rogue look a bit more upscale here from the side profile. Now, up front, you are going to receive full LED headlights here, again giving you that modern appearance, even though this generation has been around for quite some time. Now, the big difference here up front is the fact that you are going to have gloss gray accents. That is not found on the SV. That would be plastic cladding. So if you're looking for that sleeker appearance, the SL would be the way to go, although you still have the chrome accents on that front grille, giving you that shield effect, which is quite nice here. Now, better yet, and sometimes you don't see this for compact crossovers, you will have functional side air curtains, giving you better airflow and also helping out with that overall efficiency. That is fantastic to see. Now, as you make your way over the side profile, like I said before, you have those 19-inch alloy wheels, and this may or may not create more road noise and also give you a bit more harshness to the ride quality. Keep in mind here that the Nissan Rogue is a bit older here in this segment. It's an older platform, so it's going to be a bit more rigid, a bit more stiff compared to some of the newer crossovers in this segment and price range. Now, you are going to have body color match side mirror caps with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Now, before we check out the rear fascia though, I do want to talk about the ground clearance here with this model, because you are going to notice the cladding around the wheel arches and side profile. You're looking at 8.2 inches, which isn't too far off the Subaru Forester at 8.7. So you're going to have some versatility here, especially with the all-wheel drive system. And of course, if you are going off-road, I think the Rogue can handle it here, even if you don't go with the Rock Creek for 2025. And then as you make your way around to the back, nothing different here aesthetically for the taillights. However, there are some minor cosmetics here for this model that will stand out compared to an SV. So instead of having that cladding, once again, there's going to be a bit more of the gloss gray accents for the badging, and then also the rear diffuser, giving you a classy touch to this model. Also, I like the two-tone look here with the color that we have here for our Rogue. Also, compared to other compact crossovers in this market, you have boxier body lines and a higher roof line, giving you a lot more practicality and interior space. Then to wrap up the final third of this model, no visible exhaust outlets. Those will be tucked beneath the bumper for that cleaner appearance. And while we're taking a look at the rear fascia, let's go over the cargo area once again for the Nissan Rogue for 2025. By going with the SL, you are going to receive a power liftgate, and inside behind the second row seats, you're looking at right on 36.5 cubic feet of room, which would fall in line with many compact crossovers in this market and is better than the new Volkswagen Tiguan. This is also better than the Subaru Forester. Now, this isn't too far off a Toyota RAV4 or Honda CR-V, so a lot of practicality here With Nissan, it comes down to the intangibles more than anything else. Although, as we're going to find out for the interior, there's a lot more to this vehicle than meets the eye. You can easily store probably 10, 11, 12 bags of luggage back here with ease. And on top of all this, you are going to have some side pockets here for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Better yet, beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire. So if you encounter a flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. When the second row seats are folded, you're looking at right on 74 cubic feet of room, which is very impressive for this vehicle and for this segment. So if practicality is what you're looking for and also family friendliness, that's what the Nissan Rogue will surprise and also impress at this price point. Powering the Nissan Rogue for 2025 is a 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. Producing 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque, it is paired with a CVT. Now, this is one of very few models in this market that's offering a Turbo 3, but this engine is quite potent and powerful. 201 horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque is better than a lot of competitors in this market. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be saying, oh, but a CVT. There's going to be some droning. It's not going to be very fun to drive. Well, Nissan has done a pretty good job with their CVTs over the past few years, where I don't think you'll be dealing with any type of droning under heavier accelerations or when you are in the city and suburbs, and this vehicle is quite compliant overall. Now, just like I mentioned before, we are going to have all-wheel drive here for better year-end capability and versatility, but front-wheel drive does come standard. But probably more importantly here with the Nissan Rogue is going to be that fuel economy. You're looking at right on 28 miles per gallon in the city and 34 miles per gallon on the highway, which is really not bad here for a vehicle with a Turbo 3 and also for a crossover that's not hybrid. So if you're looking for a versatile vehicle that's also efficient, the Nissan Rogue should be on your list of considerations. Hopping inside the Nissan Rogue SL, you're greeted by power adjustable heated leather trim seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having 2-position memory for added convenience. Now, there's going to be a long list of amenities that I think makes the SL the best choice, even compared to a Platinum. Remember, take a look at that pricing, right? You're spending around $40,000 here, and when we start diving into the technology, I think it makes this particular Rogue totally worth buying for 2025. With these seats, they are very comfortable, they're plush. This is a huge upgrade over the upholstery found in the SV and also, of course, the S, and it gives you more of a luxury-like experience when you first hop into this vehicle for the first time. Bolstering is also pretty good too, even though this vehicle is not sports tuned. So I think when you are on those longer road trips, you'll not be dealing with any type of fatigue or back pain here with the Nissan Rogue. And also, Nissan does a pretty good job with their upholstery and seating materials where their seats definitely mold around you, so that is great to see. Now, the rest of the interior, though, is the main talking point here, and before we even dive into the gauge cluster, the infotainment system, we have to talk about an optional package that we have equipped on our model today, which I think provides a lot of value. Again, some of you might be saying, all right, I don't want to spend any more over $40,000, so what does this package actually give us? Well, let's dive into it. So for $1,740 to the SL Premium package, you are going to have a dual panel panoramic moonroof, which will bring in a lot of natural light to the interior, motion activated liftgate, 3-zone climate control, rear door sunshades, a head-up display, and also outside mirrors with reverse tilt down, so when you are backing into spots, you'll have better visibility. And then, of course, you have the driver memory seat and outside mirror positioning as well. For less than $2,000, I think this is the way to go. Of course, you can go with an optional tech package for $3,200, giving you ProPilot Assist 2.1, enhanced 3D intelligent surround view monitor, rain sensing, windshield wipers, active driver attention monitoring, and then a ProPilot emergency stop with eCall. Is that necessary for $3,200? That's up to you to decide, but then you're looking at spending at around $45,000. At that point, I would go with a Platinum, but most certainly go with the SL Premium package. I think it's providing a lot of value here for the SL. Now, in front of you, of course, we have that head-up display, which is very easy to read, very clear, and also that'll help you keep your eyes on the road ahead of you rather than looking down at screens. However, with the screens, we have to discuss what we have here, and This is such a welcomed addition compared to the SV. So you are going to have a full digital gauge cluster here, which is going to give you a futuristic feel, and also, in my opinion, makes us very competitive with other compact crossovers in this market. So from here, you can scroll through a wide variety of information. You're going to have a home screen here on your digital gauge cluster. You can check out your fuel economy statistics, also your tire pressure monitoring system, your turn-by-turn navigation, your radio settings, your speed limit sign, so traffic sign recognition, and then you can scroll through settings. You can also change out this layout to your liking as well, with more of a traditional gauge layout. But I do like the futuristic design here. This is huge. This right here is why I think the SL makes a lot of sense. And it does go one step further beyond that, though, because you are going to have Google-based software for your infotainment system, giving you wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto compatibility, Google Maps, Google Assistant. It's all right here. And this is such a huge upgrade over the infotainment system found in the SV. That is the older Nissan technology that does seem quite archaic. Now, also with this new infotainment system, though, you don't miss out on physical buttons. You're still going to have physical dials and buttons for your dual zone climate control up front, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, fan direction, your 3-zone climate control as well for the second row seating area, and then also buttons for your 3-level heated seats. Then above that, and then just beneath the infotainment system, you will have physical buttons for your seek and track, volume and tuning, and then also your camera systems. Now for the screen itself, you will have quick access icons found on the left side of the screen to get your different menus efficiently, such as your home screen, your navigation map, your radio, your Bluetooth and smartphone connectivity, and then lastly will be your onboard assistant. It's also from here where you will have all your widgets in place for your apps, such as your system information, GPS position, MyQ Garage, Amazon Alexa, Play Store, Google Assistant, Google Maps, and then Nissan Connect services. But I have to say though, this is actually a very straightforward infotainment system that's cleanly laid out. Resolution and quality is really good. And this is the exact same infotainment system that is found in the Murano. So that's why I say go with the SL. The SL just makes so much more sense from a practicality standpoint, but then also the tech features as well. Makes this vehicle feel somewhat modern, despite the fact that I still think this generation is getting long in the tooth. Now, when you do place the Nissan Rogue in reverse, you are going to have a top view camera here and also a rear backup camera with trajectory, which is quite good here with the resolution and quality. You can also go with a 180-degree view as well, giving you better visibility when you are backing out of tight spots or parking on a city street. And you will have side views as well, so that way you're not scraping those wheels. So a lot of visibility here, a lot of safety more importantly. Making our way towards the center console, you are going to have 2 USB-C inputs, a 12-volt outlet. Next, that will be your start-stop button. You have a wireless phone charging pad. Then for the center console itself, you have that gear selector here, which has been in this product for a long time. Also, you're going to have not gloss black trim, but it still gives you this cooler, sleeker design. 2 cup holders, electronic parking brake, auto vehicle hold, and then you will have your drive mode selector here. So with the Nissan Rogue, you're going to have Eco, Auto, Snow, Off-Road, and Sport. I actually like Sport with this Turbo 3. I think it's a good pairing. But if you want to maximize that fuel range, go with Eco or Auto. But at least you have some capability here if you are taking on some of the elements, or maybe you're going off-road to camp or ski and snowboard. For the standard storage compartment, this area is very deep. In fact, you could probably store a couple small water bottles. Also, there's a tray for loose change. And then to round out the front seating area, like I said before, we have that dual-pane panoramic moonroof, which does bring in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now for passengers in the second row across all trims for 2025, they're going to receive right around 38.5 inches of legroom, which is very competitive with a lot of compact crossovers in this market, including the Toyota RAV4, Hyundai Tucson, Kia Sportage, and the Honda CR-V. This is a bit better than the new Volkswagen Tiguan. Now with this interior space though, it's not just the legroom, it's also the fact you have a lot of shoulder room, and with not an aggressive center hump back here, you can easily have a third person in the center, giving you a lot of flexibility and versatility with the Nissan Rogue. Also, we have a higher roofline here, so I don't think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner. Now, this seat is adjusted most of the way back. It's also on a recline. And I have plenty of legroom here, more than a few inches, so I could just sit back, relax, and enjoy the driving experience. Also, once again, by going with the SL, you have leather seats here, so giving you a lot more plushness, support, and comfort. It just makes this vehicle feel very upscale for its market and price range. Now, also by going with that optional package like we talked about before, you do have rear sunshades to block out the haters, but then also have some extra privacy here when you are on those longer road trips and you want to just use your laptops, maybe use your smartphones, and that way the sunlight isn't gleaming down on you. So that is one thing that's not typically found in this market. I do like to see that. Now back here you will have two center mounted air vents. We also have climate control, two USB-C inputs. Then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with two cup holders. The last time I featured the Nissan Rogue, it was the SV, and I said in that video, you should go with the SL. That is the pick for 2025. And so far throughout this entire review, I feel validated, I feel vindicated with that statement, and I truly believe that this is the trim to opt for. In some ways, this doesn't even feel like the same generation as that SV. Full digital gauge cluster, Google built-in software. This makes the Rogue feel more complete in 2025 and in a very competitive market right now. But also with the leather appointed seats, this is a comfortable crossover. This crossover feels very well refined. It's quiet. Also, it's relatively quick with this Turbo 3. Better yet, you also have a head-up display like I talked about before. All the technology makes the Rogue quite appealing with the SL. Even though you're spending at around or above $40,000, I personally think it's worth it. Now, obviously, for a lot of you who are on stricter budgets, the SV is going to be the primary choice, and it does make a lot of sense due to its practicality. But if you can spend a little extra, the SL, in my opinion, is the better bang for your buck. Now, much like all the other compact crossovers in this market, you are not going to have a sportier driving experience. This is not going to be an engaging daily driver and family hauler. However, it's going to be the intangibles, and that's mostly what will draw people into the Nissan product line, whether it is the Kicks, the Rogue, the Pathfinder, or of course the Murano. It's going to be the size, it's going to be the practicality, it's going to be the interior space. But with the SL, there's other dimensions to this that makes this particular model, I think, totally worth it. And also, I think it's most certainly a worthy competitor to that Honda CR-V, to that Toyota RAV4, to that Subaru Forester. And it's really the technology. But also, I think it's the fact that with this chassis, this feels much more refined. It doesn't feel as aged as the SV did, which is why, again, I feel like I'm driving a completely different vehicle, despite the fact that mechanically speaking, nothing's different. Because the Rogue is one of the older crossovers in this segment, you kind of feel that with this platform. Also, the steering input is quite heavy, relatively speaking, for a vehicle at around $40,000 and for a compact crossover. So there is some engagement here when you are on those back roads, when you are in the twists and bends, when you are entering those corners. Now, obviously, you are going to feel some of the bumps and imperfections here, which is why, like I said last time, we need a new generation. We need a major update here for the Rogue, just because comparing this to its rivals, the rivals tend to handle the bumps just a little bit better. However, if you are looking for a decently sized crossover, the Rogue makes a lot of sense. Just take a look at the cargo space, also the second row seating area, and even when you're just driving this vehicle around town, when you are behind the wheel, you sit very high up in this vehicle. Nice commanding feeling presence over the roadways gives you a lot of safety. Visibility-wise, you have a nice panoramic view. A-pillars, it depends on the situation. I think you might have some blind spots here and there when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are massive. I can see what's in my blind spots and in the lane next to me, and then obviously I can see what's directly behind me, even with the headrests in the way. Now, when you are entering the corners here on these back roads, it's very compliant. And I have to say, it's somewhat athletic and agile. So far on this test drive in the city and suburbs, this engine is rather quiet, and the CVT is at least doing its best to simulate the gear shifts. There's not a lot of droning here under lighter accelerations, but we'll be getting on the highway very briefly, and that might be a bit of a different story. But much like I felt with the SV, it's the intangibles that will draw you in, and I think for the SL, then it's a technology that adds on a few more incentives to choosing this particular model. Now, obviously, if you go with a very well-equipped SL, you're spending close to $45,000. And that's where I'd say, you know, don't go all out with the packages. I think what we have here today for our model is more than enough. The 3-zone climate control, the rear sunshades, this is the way to go if you have a family. So as we approach the highway here, let's place the Rogue in sport mode and see what that does to the throttle response and steering input. Now also we have paddle shifters too, which for a vehicle with a CVT, I'm not apt to use them, nor would I be quick to use them under heavier accelerations, but they're at least there. And steering input does get a bit more weighted here. Now obviously with the lack of a sports unit suspension, there is some lack of connectivity with you and the vehicle, and then of course with the road, but a lot of compact crossovers exhibit the exact same driving dynamics. Let's see if we can pass this slower driver here and see what this Turbo 3 has to offer. Pretty quick. There is some turbo lag though, but once you get into the mid-range, it takes right off. See, I know some people wish we had the 4-cylinder still, but this Turbo 3 packs a punch. And when you look at the horsepower figures, it's very competitive with a lot of vehicles in this market. It's more powerful than the 3-cylinder that's found in the Ford Escape. Also with this CVT, does a pretty good job under heavier accelerations. And yes, the engine does make some noise here when you are on throttle, but I think there's far worse out there with the CVT. And even with naturally aspirated 4-cylinders. So this turbo definitely gets the job done. Now at highway speeds, road noise isn't too bad here. I will note that it's a bit quieter than the Nissan Kicks, which is why if you are someone on the fence and you need a larger vehicle, go with the Nissan Rogue for 2025 if you want more interior insulation. On the brakes, not too bad here. There is some travel on that brake pedal, but this isn't a Nissan GTR or Nissan Z. So all in all, after this very quick test drive with a Nissan Rogue, my final thoughts here is that just go with the SL. Yes, it comes at a cost. Yes, you're spending over $40,000, but it's totally worth the price of admission. Everything I didn't like about the SV that felt a little off, a little old, the SL addresses all of that. The full digital gauge cluster, Google built-in software, these leather seats, everything feels really nice here, including the leatherette wrap steering wheel here, which again feels really nice in the hands. So if you're someone that is looking at buying a compact crossover from Nissan, you want a vehicle that feels refined, also has some sense of quality, feels somewhat luxurious, go with the Nissan Rogue SL for 2025, pay a little extra over that SV. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Nissan Rogue SL. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.